Greetings and welcome to Nerd College, where we've made it our mission to help as many people as possible take that first step into their new nerdy obsession. In this video series, we're taking our students through brief overviews of some of our favorite movies, shows, and anime, with a particular emphasis on media that can seem unapproachable for one reason or another. Sometimes just a little background information is all it takes, and what was once incomprehensible becomes hilarious. With that in mind, let's dive into today's lesson. The Oxford Languages Dictionary defines the word esoteric in this manner: intended for or likely to be understood only by a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. As an example, the television show that's our focus today has a premise so bizarre and original that only a handful of fans caught on to it immediately. That show is The Venture Brothers, an animated series that premiered in 2003 and began as a parody of 1960s Hanna-Barbera cartoons, Marvel Comics, and other adventure series before it developed a style entirely its own. Before its time, after its time, or from another dimension altogether, The Venture Brothers possesses a heart and a kind of mad brilliance that's been overlooked by too much of the general audience, and we hope to bring over a few more into the cult of venture with our video today. In order to understand how the Venture Brothers came to be, we first need to cover some background information about Adult Swim, the animation studio that produced the series, and Hanna-Barbera, the animation studio that would serve as a major inspiration. In the 1960s, Hanna-Barbera was one of the biggest producers of American animation, with hit shows like The Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, and Johnny Quest, just to name a few. Their style was recognizable for its bold colors, anamorphic animals that loved neckwear, and other limited animation techniques that were necessary to keep costs down from the sheer amount of content they were producing. By the early 90s, however, their cartoons had fallen out of fashion and the rights were purchased by the Turner Broadcasting Network for $320 million. Just 1 year later in '92, TBS would use this purchase along with others to launch Cartoon Network, the first 24-hour cable channel dedicated entirely to animation. At first, Cartoon Network simply showed reruns of the Hanna-Barbera properties, but in 1994, their employee Mike Lazo created Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which re-edited and re-voiced footage of the original Space Ghost series for comedic effect. The same technique would later be applied to create Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, and C-Lab 2021 in the year 2000. Eventually, Cartoon Network's problem for what to air after the kids went to bed and the trouble Mike Lazo's team was having finding a legitimate place among their peers would both be solved in 2001 with the launch of Adult Swim. It was to be a block of animated content that would come on after 10 p.m. and would feature shows that targeted older viewers. With the emergence of an animation studio that embraced wacky new ideas, and with the idea in place to spoof classic cartoons of the 1960s like those of Hanna-Barbera, the perfect stage was set for two men to take all these elements and combine them into one of the strangest and most lovable shows ever created. The Venture Brothers was created by Jackson Publick and Doc Hammer, who, according to franchise lore, produced the series in orbit around the moon aboard the marvel of technology that is Astrobase Go, alongside Soulbot, their robot companion. In reality, Astrobase Go is the name of Hammer and Publick's production company, although Soulbot is credited with providing the voice of Helper, the Venture family robot. The show was originally envisioned by Jackson Publick, who also helped create other quirky properties like The Tick and Celebrity Deathmatch. The two creators would provide most of the voice acting and the animation for the series themselves, and have a tradition of alternating the writing duties for each episode, although they write the season premieres and finales together. After premiering in 2003, the show would focus on the lives and adventures of the Venture family and the cavalcade of wacky characters that they interact with throughout the show's 7 seasons and various specials. The setting of the Venture Brothers is one of super science, superheroes, and supervillains, and the creators took every opportunity to spoof some of the most popular characters and tropes of the genre, complete with knockoffs of the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the Scooby Gang, and countless other characters. The original premise of the show was to mock popular adventure programs and book series of the creators' childhoods, and to take a more realistic look at what their lives must be like between adventures. truly, there are few aspects of nerd culture that haven't been commented on or outright parodied by the Venture Brothers. Another aspect of the premise is to examine what an adult state of mind would be like if their childhood was nothing but jet-setting around the world and going on terrifying adventures with their super scientist father. Not great, as it turns out. Through all the mind-bending weirdness, though, the creators have somehow found a way to make viewers of the show care about these characters and root for them despite how strange and flawed they all are. Although the concept of an animated show with long-form storytelling is more or less commonplace today, the fact that The Venture Brothers was a cartoon that required viewers to watch episodes in order and finish the season to see the resolution of plot lines was nearly unheard of at the time. It had long been established that American animated shows wrapped up their stories at the end of every episode, and characters almost never learned from their experiences. The Venture Brothers asked a little more from their fans, and the storylines are immeasurably more deep and rewarding because of it. The Venture Brothers features over 200 named characters. In order to provide a solid basis for understanding the show, and just for fun, here's a brief rundown of some of the major players. Dr. Thaddeus S. Rusty Venture, the patriarch of the family. Dr. Venture was once the world's most famous boy adventurer, but unable to live up to the impossible standards set by his father, he is now plagued by feelings of anxiety and inadequacy. Known as Rusty, or Doc to his friends, he serves as the focal point for the rest of the Venture universe, although he only sees it that way part of the time. Hank and Dean Venture, the titular Venture brothers, fraternal twins and sons of Dr. Venture, Hank and Dean function as less mature versions of the Hardy Boys and resemble Fred from Scooby-Doo and Peter Parker respectively. Either at home in the Venture compound or while being dragged around the world by their father, they end up getting into more trouble than they can help prevent, as is the duty of any good boy adventurers. Brock Sampson, a fan favorite, Sampson is the overqualified and hyper-masculine bodyguard of the Venture family. Easily identifiable by his trademark mullet and intimidating physique, he has a license to kill and is all too happy to use it. Although he was featured as gruff and unfriendly in the first season, he quickly develops into a full-fledged character and a true member of the Venture family. Dr. Byron Orpheus is a master necromancer who lives as a tenant on the Venture compound and who's an obvious parody of Doctor Strange. Dr. Orpheus is a powerful and competent sorcerer, but lacks confidence and tends to be overdramatic during everyday situations. Much like his comic book counterpart, he is divorced, but Dr. Orpheus has custody over his daughter Triana, who he constantly tries to impress and who acts as a love interest for Dean Venture early in the series. The Mighty Monarch is Dr. Venture's main antagonist. The Monarch has dedicated his life to the destruction of Dr. Venture and all that he holds dear, though he's never been very good at it. Alongside the extremely capable and deeply voiced Dr. Girlfriend and his legion of henchmen, he makes war on Dr. Venture from his flying cocoon. Henchmen 21 and 24 may be the world's most incompetent employees, but they serve the Monarch and act as comic relief amongst other hilarious characters. Finally showing viewers how someone would fall into the life of a henchman and what they would do in their off hours, 21 and 24 started off as minor characters, but over time are fleshed out into some of the most interesting in the franchise. The show follows the Venture family from one adventure to the next, and with each new location, the series introduces us to a new colorful cast of characters that help fill out the world they're inhabiting. Most of these characters make return appearances later in the series, and there are plenty of rewards and callbacks for dedicated fans. One of the greatest aspects of the franchise as a whole is the outstanding musical score composed by J.G. Thirlwell, who also writes music for the hit show Archer. The music he wrote for the Venture Brothers is extremely evocative of the 1960s and perfectly matches the tone of the show. Spanning over 20 years from its premiere to the final movie released in 2023, fans that were along for the ride were treated to ups and downs, cancellations and revivals, but through it all, the Venture Brothers never lost its wit or the warmth that it started with. And that's truly a rare quality in media today. And that's all we have time for. If you need just one more reason to check out the Venture Brothers, we'd like to say the ending of Season 1 stands among the most shocking finales of any show's first season, especially at the time when we didn't know for sure if the series would even continue beyond that point. Although it was canceled after 7 seasons, the final special wrapped up the series better than we at the Nerd College thought was possible. Go Team Venture. If you enjoyed today's lesson, make sure you hit that subscribe button and watch our other videos. Now, off to your next class.